2023, a group of researchers discovered that 89% of human decisions follow predictable patterns. Think about that for a moment. Almost everything you believe to be a free choice may already be mapped out, anticipated, and influenced without your awareness. From the products you buy to the news you consume, even to the dreams you pursue, your life may be guided by unseen forces. But what if I told you this isn't just about advertising or social media? What if the very fabric of your reality, the choices you make, and the thoughts you think are part of a much larger, more sinister design? Have you ever noticed strange patterns in your life? Numbers repeating, coincidences piling up, or events that feel just a little too convenient? What if these weren't accidents but clues? Clues pointing to a system so vast and intricate that it controls not just what you see, but how you perceive the world around you. A system designed to keep you distracted, obedient, and unaware of its existence. This is not a theory. This is a carefully orchestrated illusion, one that has been refined over centuries, shaping the way humanity exists while keeping the truth buried just beneath the surface. Let me ask you something. Why do you wake up every morning feeling like there's something missing? Like you're chasing something you can't quite define? You go to work, follow your routine, and try to carve out moments of happiness in a world that feels increasingly artificial. Deep down, you know something is off. But you can't quite put your finger on it, can you? That's because the world you live in was designed to feel that way. It was built to keep you searching for answers in the wrong places, while the real answers remain hidden in plain sight. The ancient Gnostics believed in the existence of entities they called Archons, forces that manipulate human perception, trapping us in a false version of reality. These ancient warnings were dismissed, erased from history by those who feared their truth. But the knowledge never disappeared. It persisted, waiting for those who dared to question the world as it is. What the Gnostics described as Archons, we might today understand as something even more pervasive. The algorithms, systems, and power structures that dictate how we think, feel, and live. They operate silently, invisibly, and yet they are everywhere. Now imagine this. Your entire reality, the walls of your home, the job you go to every day, the relationships you build, they're all part of a carefully constructed cage. This cage doesn't have bars you can see or chains you can feel. Instead, it's made of ideas, beliefs, and habits. You've been told that success looks like a bigger house, a better car, more money. You've been taught to measure your worth in achievements and possessions. But what if all of that is a distraction? What if the very things you strive for are the tools used to keep you tethered to the system? Here's the twist. The cage is so well designed that most people never realize they're trapped. They defend their own chains, mock those who question, and silence those who dare to see beyond the illusion. But you're different. You've felt it. That nagging feeling that there's more to life than what you've been told. That's why you're here. Because you're starting to wake up. Because you've noticed the cracks in the system even if you don't fully understand what they mean yet. The media you consume, the education you received, the devices you carry in your pocket, all of them are tools. Tools that shape your desires, fears, and beliefs. Think about it. Your phone tracks every step you take, every word you type, every thought you share. Social media feeds you content it knows will keep you engaged, even if it's not what you truly need. These systems are not neutral. They are designed to guide you, to predict your behavior, and to keep you in a state of compliance. But here's the thing. The system's greatest strength is also its greatest weakness. It relies on your ignorance. As long as you remain unaware, it thrives. But the moment you start to question, the moment you begin to see the patterns, its grip starts to weaken. That's the truth they don't want you to know. You are not powerless. You've never been powerless. The cage isn't locked. The prison is an illusion. And the key to breaking free has been within you all along. You're not here by accident. Something brought you to this moment. A choice, a curiosity, a feeling that you can't ignore. This is your wake-up call. The truth has been buried for centuries, hidden in myths, dismissed as conspiracy, and masked by those who profit from keeping you asleep. But now, you have a choice. Will you continue to accept the reality you've been given, or will you take the first step toward uncovering the truth? Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you will change the way you see everything. This is more than a revelation. It's a roadmap, a way to break free from the invisible forces that shape your life and reclaim the power that has always been yours. The time has come to see through the illusion and step into the reality you were meant to live. The choice is yours. But make no mistake, once you see the truth, there's no going back. Are you ready? Throughout history, humanity has been shaped by systems of control so deeply embedded in our lives that they have become invisible. These systems are not maintained by brute force or visible chains, but by carefully crafted beliefs and patterns. This concept of control is not new. It stretches back centuries to times when knowledge itself was considered dangerous. Libraries were burned, rebels were silenced, and inconvenient truths were buried beneath layers of propaganda. The idea was simple yet devastatingly effective. Control what people know, and you control how they think. One of the most striking examples of this occurred during the rise of the Roman Church. Ancient texts that spoke of alternate understandings of reality, such as the Gnostic manuscripts discovered in Nag Hammadi in 1945, were systematically suppressed. These texts contained startling ideas that our material world might be an illusion and that hidden forces manipulate human consciousness. The Gnostics called these entities Archons, describing them as shadowy manipulators who distort human perception and keep humanity trapped in a false reality. For centuries, this knowledge remained hidden, deemed heretical, and its bearers persecuted. Fast forward to today, and though the language has changed, the essence of control remains the same. The tools have evolved from religious doctrine to algorithms, from burning libraries to curating digital feeds. Yet the goal persists, to shape what you see, hear, and believe. Modern systems of control have become more subtle, but their reach has expanded exponentially. Social media platforms, news outlets, and entertainment industries now act as the new Archons, feeding us carefully tailored realities that are both convenient and limiting. Every time you open your phone, scroll through social media, or turn on the news, you are consuming a version of reality that has been meticulously crafted to keep you engaged, compliant, and unaware of its deeper purpose. Consider how these systems work. Algorithms, for example, are designed to predict your behavior. They learn from your clicks, likes, and shares, creating a digital profile so accurate it can anticipate your desires before you're even aware of them. While this may seem harmless, perhaps even helpful, it is anything but neutral. These algorithms are not just tools, they are mechanisms of influence. They decide which information you see and which remains hidden, shaping your understanding of the world. Over time, they create echo chambers, reinforcing your existing beliefs and making it increasingly difficult to question or escape the narrative being fed to you. This level of control extends beyond social media. The education system, for instance, was designed not to foster critical thinking, but to produce obedient workers. The structure of a 9-to-5 job, the concept of productivity as a measure of worth, and even the notion of retirement are all constructs that serve a larger system. They keep you busy, tired, and too preoccupied to question why things are the way they are. These routines are not natural, they were built, and like any well-designed system, they function so seamlessly that most people never realize they are part of it. Take the example of financial systems. Debt is one of the most effective tools of control ever created. Credit cards, loans, and mortgages promise immediate gratification but tether you to a cycle of repayment that can last a lifetime. The more debt you accumulate, the harder it becomes to take risks, challenge the status quo, or even dream of alternatives. You become trapped, not by chains but by numbers in a bank account, by the weight of financial obligations that dictate every major decision you make. This is by design. A population burdened by debt is easier to control because it is less likely to revolt. Even our culture of consumerism serves this greater purpose. Advertisements create needs where none existed, convincing you that happiness lies in owning more. New phones, cars, clothes, they are not just products. They are symbols of success and status. But here's the irony. The more you buy, the more you work to afford these things, and the less time you have to enjoy them. The cycle perpetuates itself, trapping you in a loop of consumption and exhaustion. Perhaps the most alarming aspect of this system is how it uses fear as a weapon. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. All of these are amplified by the media, which thrives on sensationalism. Every headline you read, every breaking news alert you receive, is designed to keep you anxious and focused on problems you feel powerless to solve. Fear keeps you looking down, keeps you compliant, and prevents you from asking the most important question: who benefits from this? The answer is not as straightforward as it might seem. It's easy to point fingers at corporations, governments, or tech giants, but the truth is more complex. The real power lies in the system itself, a self-sustaining machine that doesn't require a single mastermind to function. It thrives on inertia, on the collective willingness to accept the world as it is. And that is precisely why awareness is its greatest threat. The moment you start to question, to notice the patterns, the cracks in the illusion become visible, and once you see them, it becomes impossible to unsee them. To understand the depth of this system, you don't need to look any further than your own life. Think about your daily routine. How much of it feels like a choice, and how much feels like something you do because it's what's expected? When was the last time you paused to question why things are the way they are? The truth is, most of us are too busy surviving to ask these questions. But survival is not living, and compliance is not freedom. The systems of control that govern our lives are vast, intricate, and for the most part, invisible. But they are not unbreakable. Awareness is the first step toward dismantling them. The more you understand how they work, the more power you reclaim. This is not about rejecting everything or escaping to some utopia. It's about seeing the world for what it is and choosing to live consciously within it. Because once you see the system, you can begin to rewrite its rules. Our understanding of reality is shaped not only by what we see, but by how we interpret it. This is the foundation of perception management, a process through which our thoughts and behaviors are subtly guided by external forces. These forces may include media narratives, social norms, and even technological frameworks like algorithms. While perception might seem like a purely individual experience, the reality is that much of it is carefully crafted to keep us within certain boundaries. Let's break this down. Perception management begins with the information we consume. Every news article, advertisement, and social media post is a piece of data that feeds into our understanding of the world. However, these pieces of information are not presented randomly. Algorithms, for instance, prioritize content based on what they predict will keep you engaged the longest. This means that the information you see online is tailored not to reflect the truth, but to capture your attention and influence your decisions. Over time, this curated reality becomes the lens through which you view the world. You may believe you are making independent choices, but in reality, your options have already been narrowed by systems that operate behind the scenes. A closely related concept is cognitive framing. This refers to how the context and presentation of information shape our perception of it. For example, consider how a news story is framed. The choice of words, images, and even the placement of the article all affect how we interpret its message. A headline that emphasizes conflict will evoke a different reaction than one that highlights collaboration, even if both are reporting the same event. This framing is not accidental. It is carefully designed to elicit specific emotions and reinforce particular viewpoints. The more we are exposed to these frames, the more they shape our beliefs, often without us realizing it. Another key element of control lies in predictive modeling. This involves using data to forecast human behavior. Companies and institutions collect vast amounts of information about us, our search histories, purchasing habits, even the routes we take to work. By analyzing these patterns, they can predict what we are likely to do next. Predictive modeling is used to create targeted advertisements, suggest products, and even influence election outcomes. While this technology can be incredibly convenient, it also raises questions about autonomy. If your behavior can be predicted with such accuracy, to what extent are your choices truly your own? The role of emotion in these systems cannot be overstated. Emotional manipulation is a powerful tool used to shape behavior. Social media platforms, for example, thrive on emotional engagement. Posts that provoke anger, fear, or joy are more likely to be shared, creating a feedback loop that prioritizes emotional content over rational discourse. This emotional amplification not only influences individual behavior, but also shapes collective consciousness. Over time, entire societies can be guided toward particular beliefs or actions simply by amplifying certain emotional narratives while suppressing others. This brings us to the concept of social proof. Humans are inherently social creatures, and we often look to others for cues on how to think and behave. Social proof exploits this tendency by presenting us with the illusion of consensus. For instance, when a post has thousands of likes or shares, we are more likely to view its content as valid or important, regardless of its actual accuracy. This creates a herd mentality, where people conform to what appears to be popular opinion, even if it contradicts their own beliefs or logic. Over time, social proof can solidify false narratives and make them seem unassailable. Another important concept is the illusion of choice. On the surface, it may seem like we have endless options in our lives: what to buy, where to work, how to spend our time. But these choices are often limited by the systems we operate within. For example, the products available to us are shaped by market forces and advertising, while our career paths are influenced by societal expectations and economic structures. Even our free time is often spent consuming content that has been algorithmically selected for us. The illusion of choice keeps us compliant because it makes us feel empowered, even as our options are being quietly controlled. A deeper layer of this control is the normalization of routines. Think about your daily life. You wake up, check your phone, go to work, and follow a set pattern almost without thinking. These routines are not inherently bad, but they can become a form of self-imposed limitation. The more we rely on routine, the less likely we are to question its necessity. This creates a kind of autopilot mode, where we go through the motions of life without ever pausing to ask if there might be a different way. Normalized routines are one of the most effective tools for maintaining the status quo because they make change seem unnecessary or even impossible. Underlying all these concepts is the principle of learned helplessness. This occurs when people come to believe that they have no control over their circumstances, even when opportunities for change exist. Learned helplessness is reinforced by systems that constantly remind us of our limitations while obscuring our potential. For instance, the constant stream of negative news can create a sense of despair, making it feel pointless to try to affect change. Similarly, financial pressures can make people feel trapped in jobs they dislike, even when alternatives are available. By fostering a sense of powerlessness, learned helplessness ensures that people remain passive and compliant. The final concept to consider is the importance of awareness. Awareness is the first step toward breaking free from these systems of control. Once you begin to notice how your perceptions are shaped, you can start to question them. Why do you believe what you believe? Who benefits from you thinking this way? These questions may seem simple, but they have the power to unravel even the most deeply ingrained patterns of control. Awareness does not mean rejecting everything or becoming paranoid. It means seeing the world as it is, so you can make informed choices about how to navigate it. Each of these concepts, perception management, cognitive framing, predictive modeling, emotional manipulation, social proof, the illusion of choice, normalized routines, learned helplessness, and awareness, forms a piece of the puzzle. Together, they create a system of control that is both pervasive and insidious. But this system is not invincible. By understanding how it works, you can begin to see its cracks. And through awareness and intentional action, you can reclaim your power, one decision at a time. The third key theme dives into the heart of what keeps us tethered to systems of control, the concept of fabricated realities. These are carefully constructed environments and narratives designed to dictate how we see the world, how we interpret events, and ultimately how we define our own existence. Unlike physical cages, these constructs are psychological, intangible, and therefore far more effective. Their power lies in their invisibility, making it almost impossible to question their validity unless you consciously choose to look beyond the surface. At the center of these fabricated realities is the illusion of normalcy. What we perceive as normal life, our routines, societal roles, and cultural expectations, is not a natural state, but a design. This design is shaped by generations of influence, often by entities and systems seeking to consolidate control. Normalcy feels safe, predictable, and comfortable, which is why it's so compelling. But what happens when you start to question its origins? What if this normal was built not to serve you, but to confine you within certain limits? The illusion is maintained through repetition. Repetition conditions us to accept certain truths without examining them critically. From childhood, we are taught what to value, what to aspire to, and what to fear. Schools teach us to obey authority, media instructs us on how to behave, and societal norms define what success should look like. These repetitions form the foundation of our perceived reality, reinforcing the boundaries of the world we believe we live in. It's not that these systems explicitly lie, rather they omit alternative perspectives that might challenge their structure. One of the most powerful tools in maintaining these fabricated realities is narrative control. The stories we are told, whether in the form of history, news, or entertainment, shape our collective consciousness. They establish what is true and what is false, what is acceptable and what is not. By controlling these narratives, those in power can guide entire populations toward specific goals or beliefs. For example, history is often written by the victors, and the narratives that survive are those that align with the interests of those in power. This selective storytelling creates a distorted version of reality, one that suits the needs of the system rather than the individual. This manipulation extends into the realm of technology, where algorithms now serve as gatekeepers of information. When you search for answers online, the results you see are curated by complex algorithms designed to maximize engagement, not necessarily to provide objective truth. These algorithms reinforce the narratives you're already exposed to, creating a feedback loop that narrows your perspective over time. Instead of expanding your understanding, the digital world often confines it, making it harder to see beyond the fabricated reality presented to you. Another crucial element of these constructed realities is emotional dependency. Emotional experiences anchor us to the systems we live within. Joy, fear, anger, and hope are all leveraged to bind us more tightly to the narratives we're fed. For instance, fear is a particularly effective tool. When people are afraid of failure, of danger, of being ostracized, they are less likely to question authority. Fear creates a sense of urgency that discourages critical thought and fosters compliance. Similarly, hope can be used to distract, promising a better future if only you remain within the system and play by its rules. The spaces we inhabit also contribute to the construction of these realities. Urban design, for example, is not just about functionality, but about shaping behavior. The way cities are organized, how people move through them, where they gather, and how they interact, is carefully planned. These designs influence our lives in ways we rarely notice, subtly guiding our choices and reinforcing social hierarchies. Public spaces can either encourage freedom of thought or suppress it, depending on how they are structured. This physical reinforcement of the fabricated reality is just as critical as its psychological components. Perhaps the most insidious aspect of these constructs is their self-sustaining nature. Once established, fabricated realities perpetuate themselves. People who grow up within these systems often come to accept them as the only possible way of life. They pass these beliefs to the next generation, solidifying the illusion. This cycle of perpetuation makes it incredibly difficult to break free. Even those who begin to question their reality often find it challenging to imagine an alternative, let alone create one. So, how do we begin to dismantle these fabricated realities? The first step is awareness, learning to recognize the patterns and structures that shape our perceptions. Once you see the threads holding the illusion together, you can start to unravel them. This doesn't mean rejecting everything outright, but rather questioning its validity. Why do you believe what you believe? Who benefits from your acceptance of this reality? These questions are the foundation of breaking free. Another critical step is exposing yourself to alternative perspectives. Seek out voices that challenge mainstream narratives, not to adopt them blindly, but to expand your understanding. Travel, read, and engage with ideas that contradict your own. The broader your perspective, the harder it becomes to confine you within a single narrative. Remember, the system thrives on narrow viewpoints. The antidote is a mind that refuses to be boxed in. Finally, reclaim your emotional autonomy. Recognize when your feelings are being manipulated and learn to separate genuine emotion from imposed reactions. This is not easy, as emotional responses are deeply ingrained, but with practice you can start to identify when fear, anger, or even hope is being used to guide your decisions. Once you regain control of your emotional state, you become far less susceptible to the influence of fabricated realities. Understanding these constructs and their mechanisms is not an endpoint but a beginning. It allows you to navigate the world more consciously, making choices that align with your true self rather than the version of you that the system seeks to create. Fabricated realities are powerful, but they are not absolute. The moment you recognize their existence, their hold on you begins to weaken. Awareness is the first step toward liberation, and liberation is the first step toward a life lived on your own terms. As the curtain draws on this exploration, one undeniable truth remains. The reality we accept, the routines we follow, and the beliefs we hold are not as fixed as they seem. Beneath the surface lies a vast and intricate web, spun to keep us moving, in predictable patterns, living lives that feel safe yet restrained. But safety, when defined by limitations, is not freedom. The illusions that have shaped our understanding of the world are powerful, but they are not impenetrable. They thrive only in darkness, where questioning is silenced and awareness is dulled. The power to dismantle these constructs has always been within reach. It begins with the simplest of acts, questioning. By daring to ask why, by seeking answers beyond what is handed to you, you disrupt the flow of the system. Each question becomes a crack in the carefully painted facade, letting in light where there was once only shadow. To question is to reclaim your ability to think freely, to see the world not as it is told to you but as it truly is. This journey is not without resistance. The forces that maintain these illusions are deeply entrenched, relying on habits, fears, and comforts to keep their grip firm. But awareness has a ripple effect. The moment you see through the veneer, you begin to change, and that change extends beyond yourself. Every step toward understanding, every act of choosing consciously, creates a new pathway, a version of reality that reflects your intentions rather than someone else's design. This is not a call to reject the world, but to engage with it on your terms. It is a reminder that you are not just a participant in this narrative, you are its co-author. The systems that attempt to confine you cannot stand against the force of a mind that refuses to be limited. What they fear most is not rebellion but recognition, for once you recognize the patterns, you no longer play the game by their rules. The question is not whether change is possible, it is whether you will embrace it. Will you continue to move within the lines drawn for you, or will you take a step beyond them? This choice, simple yet profound, belongs solely to you. The tools for transformation are in your hands. Use them to question, to explore, and to create a world that aligns with your truest self. As we conclude, consider this. The systems of control that surround us may be vast, but they are not invincible. Awareness is the greatest disruptor, and consciousness the most potent weapon. The journey ahead will not be easy, but it will be yours. And that, above all else, is worth fighting for. The illusion fades the moment you choose to see. So look deeper, step forward, and take hold of the life that has always been waiting for you.